My name is Maaza Mengiste, and I want to tell you about my project, which is also my third novel, A Brief Portrait of Small Deaths. It is set during the interwar years in Germany and examines the lives of a German artist and his Afro-German model as Nazism rises. The idea came to me in Stuttgart on a cold winter afternoon, standing in front of a painting by German artist Ernst Kirchner entitled Millie Sleeping. Kirchner has painted a naked black woman lying on a chaise, much like an odalisque, her nude body surrounded by bright colors. I stared at it, and it took me back to the world of my second novel called The Shadow King. Launching this September 24. The Shadow King is set during Mussolini's invasion of Ethiopia and tells the little-known story of Ethiopian women who fought in the front lines against the fascists. It is inspired in part by the story of my great-grandmother. While researching that novel, I began collecting hundreds of photographs taken by Italian soldiers during the war, pictures that often depicted naked women like this one. Oops. This is Berlinisch. She too is posed like an odalisque, but there is more to see here. The place where she is posed leads to killing fields where Italians had an execution camp. There is a landscape of violence that her body disguises. The bodies of women have been used to hide atrocities. They have often served as both camouflage and the battlefield on which others wage their own personal wars. There are obvious, apparent parallels between these two images, but they've also made me wonder about the presence of women, African women, in wars considered European. Standing in front of Millie, I began to wonder who she was and what happened to her as Nazism gained a foothold in Germany. I became fascinated with what artists like Kirchner imagined about their models. How did they negotiate their own tenuous place in Nazi Germany with their art and with the lives of those who modeled for them? I don't know much yet about people like Millie and Sam, but I know that there were very few options for Afro-Germans in Weimar, Germany. One option was to make a living as a circus performer. Another was to be displayed in a human zoo that allowed Germans and others to witness Africans in what they wanted to imagine were natural habitats. I'm interested in the lives of these Afro-Germans who were part of the world that Nazism destroyed. I am bound to them by skin, by continent, by heart, and by a deep belief that none of us moves through time untethered. Our fates are bound to each other. My novel, A Brief Portrait of Small Deaths, is set during this period when everything changed in Germany and the world. When artists found themselves at the forefront of an ideological war that wanted to reshape creativity, imagination, and memory, when entire populations were erased. In this project, I want to establish the presence of a few of those who were erased and see them anew. I want to discover how invisible they managed to make themselves when the Nazis came looking. How much can be captured in a glance? How much remains invisible? I'm going to read an excerpt from my second novel, The Shadow King, where one of my characters, an Italian soldier who brings his camera to war, grapples with these same questions. In this scene, he is at a bar with friends after an execution in which he has taken part. Now here they are in the bar that Fucelli reserved for them, a tiny tajbeit in the center of Davark, nothing more than a single room with a corrugated tin roof. A series of chairs and a large unsteady table balance on a dirt floor covered with lemongrass and frayed rugs. It is the end of a long day. The prisoner still hangs from the tree. Ettore's camera still dangles from his neck. 2 exposed rolls of film still poke in his pocket against his leg. Ettore rubs his head. He has had several beers and the waitress is bringing more, but it is only his father's voice that he hears. The cramped bar pulses with the commanding energy of his father, Leo Navarra, and his accented voice, the one he uses at home when there is no restraint in what he can say, when every word that comes from his mouth is exactly what he intends. But have you answered my question, my son? Do you know what you would see if you sat in a dark windowless bar in the middle of an African city and a girl were to walk toward you with a bottle of beer? What would you see, Ettore, if you turned in your seat to observe Mario and the others beckoning this waitress who was moving toward them in her native dress and lowered eyes? The body is the body in shadow or in light? Remember, son, you are not home. There is no poetry in this place. There is no honorable stare that happens between these walls. Son, you who are here in this bar, crammed full of soldiers, drilling this girl with their eyes while a young man hangs, what do you have to say? I say, the eye will behold in itself the image of a luminous body better than that of a shadowed object. I say, Father, the eye has the power to keep what it sees. The eye is greedy. The eye will always seek and devour that illumined figure made visible by predatory light. A Brief Portrait of Small Deaths is a novel told from the perspectives of both a German artist and his Afro-German model. It integrates archival research and will incorporate historical documents into the fictional narrative. It will be a hybrid novel, both fiction and nonfiction. I want to thank Creative Capital for this opportunity. To every single artist in this room, thank you so much. We're fighting the good fight. Thanks.